All right. Well, we are back with a new guest host, I guess. But it doesn't feel new because we
No,
did the Voyager
this is like a Voyager reunion.
Voyager reunion. For those who don't know, Voyager podcast was something Brad and I did for how many seasons did we do? Was it 2 or
I think it was two, and then we did some one-off episodes. But
yeah?
it was a good
What?
time. A lot of witty intros.
Right. No, we're not having one of those now,
No, we are
or
not.
are we? But yeah, Taylor just graduated from Western with his master's degree. And so he's off for this week. And so we thought it'd be fun to have you come in and kind of have the conversation over our text this week. So,
Yeah, it's a privilege to sit in for Taylor. I think he got 2 master degrees, right?
yes, he did. Yeah, he got
Which
dual master's
is a
degrees.
lot of work. So we're definitely proud of him. And
Yeah.
I know a lot went into that. So
A
it's a
lot.
huge accomplishment. And you know, because you did the master's program, it's a lot of work, a lot of papers, a lot of studying.
With kids, with a job, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So I think this is episode 12.
Yes, I believe so.
Episode 12. So, yeah.
I'm excited for this. I think this section of scripture is something I think about a lot, reference a lot. So I'm stoked to get into it with you. Pick your brain on some stuff.
Shall we get into it?
We should.
So, yeah, Matthew 13. It's actually, during the message, I read through 9, but we went all the way through 23. So I think I'll just read that whole section to give us the full context.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
On that day, Jesus went out to the house, was sitting by the sea. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat, sat down while the whole crowd stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, "Consider the sower who went out to sow. As he sowed, some seed fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Other seed fell on rocky ground where it didn't have much soil, and it grew up quickly since the soil wasn't deep. But when the sun came up, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns came up and choked it. Still other seed fell on good ground and produced fruit. Some 100, some 60, and some 30 times what was sown. Let anyone who has ears listen." Then the disciples came up and asked him, "Why are you speaking to them in parables?" He answered, "Because the secrets of the kingdom of heaven have been given for you to know, but has not been given to them. For whoever has, more will be given to him, and he will have more than enough. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. That is why I speak to them in parables, because looking they do not see, and hearing they do not listen or understand. Isaiah's prophecy is fulfilled in them, which says, "You will listen and listen, but never understand. You will look and look, but never perceive. For this people's heart has grown callous. Their ears are hard of hearing, and they have shut their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their hearts and turn back, and I would heal them. Blessed are your eyes because they do see, and your ears because they do hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see the things you see, but didn't see them, to hear the things you hear, but didn't hear them. So listen to the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word about the kingdom and doesn't understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is the one sown along the path. And the one sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, but it has no root and is short-lived. When distress or persecution comes because of the word, immediately he falls away. Now the one sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the worries of this age and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. But the one sown on good ground, this is one who hears and understands the word, who does produce fruit and yields some 100, some 60, some 30 times what was sown.
That is a meaty section of scripture, but man, it's a lot to chew on. But just to start, I love how in service you brought up that stories, parables, the way that Jesus delivers this, it has a way of getting, you reference, behind the firewall of our heart. Obviously, like I tell stories for a living as like a director, but I love that concept of like he's putting the concept in a visualization that they could understand. Can you unpack that more of like getting behind the firewall? Why do you think that we can be guarded at times, and why do you think the way parables unfold helps get in there more?
Well, okay. We live in a era or day of, I get it's probably always been this way, but it's the term has become more popularized, being triggered.
Mm,
Where if somebody says something that's the wrong word, wrong phrase, it triggers you. And as soon as you're triggered, it's like you turn off.
right.
It's like you're done. And you realize in conversations, like certain words, like even though it might seem like benign, like it's not a big deal, it will literally send people like they shut down, they wall up, they
Yeah.
like it's like armadillo, like or a turtle go inside of your shell. There's no penetrating that anymore. Um, I think a really good example of getting behind the firewall of your heart is the story of David. Nathan, the prophet, comes to David. You know the story probably, Bathsheba, where he sees her bathing and he's on his roof. In a time when kings go to war, he stayed home. He sees her, he calls her in. Some believe it's borderline like she didn't have a choice.
I don't think she did personally, but
It's
yeah.
the king is asking for you,
King.
you're coming, which is even more gnarly. I mean, she's
Yeah.
married to a really good man. He's fighting, for Israel. She gets pregnant. He's like, what do I do? So he brings Uriah home, tries to get him like drunk basically, and to sleep with his wife so that he thinks it's hers. He won't do it. Like sleeps outside of her, outside because of solidarity with his men. Like, I can't
Yeah.
be doing this. And I mean, again, wow, okay, good dude. So David decides to have him go up to the front lines, go out, and then have everybody basically retreat and leave him isolated and alone, and he'll be killed. And David's like, I'll be good.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work, And then Nathan comes to him with a story about a man and his sheep, and how he loved this lamb and he took care of it. And all of a sudden, this other guy who didn't care at all, who had all kinds of stuff, comes in and steals it away and takes it for himself and whatever. And David's like furious when he hears the story. And he's like, who is this guy? Like, he's like, I'm going to find him and we're going to deal with him. Right. And Nathan goes, you are the man. And all of a sudden everything changes and he
So
realizes
heavy. Yeah.
completely behind the firewall of the heart. And that's kind of the idea of parables, where it's got this meaning everyone could kind of understand, and you're tracking. Like, you're like, oh yeah, totally. And then all of a sudden there's this flip at the end that go, wait a minute, that's about me. And you're able to see it more clearly than it's being said directly. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Jesus is an amazing storyteller. So you tell stories, the power of a story. And so did Jesus.
Yeah. And it's like I refer to it as finding the story in the story.
Mm.
It's like he explains the story at surface level, and then he's giving them, here's what it's actually about. Here's the real story under surface level, is here's what's going on. And
Mm.
I guess we could probably break down some of these things, but I think there's a lot of application in the sowing and the different seeds that, like, it's easy to think of people in our lives that it's like, oh, that I know someone that happened to. But I think it's interesting that some of the stuff can happen in our life too. Like, I love when you were talking about the weeds, how it's not just that they choke things out, they're stealing resources.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of made me think, like, how often do I let things sprout up that start stealing resources from my faith walk, but you don't deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, eventually that stuff will start choking stuff out, right? It's
Yeah.
just going to keep growing. But yeah, when you think about the application to what Jesus is talking about, the sowing of seeds, like, what do you think the application is to the believer who's listening to this?
Well, yeah, I think if we don't take this personally, then we've we're the bad guy in the story. We're the fool in the story that's not listening to what Jesus is warning us of. You know, for our lives, for others' lives, it's easy to whenever you see something go, oh, I know who that applies to. I know those people. And then you kind of build a caricature and they're just this because of this. But we always have this nuanced view of things in our own lives where it's like, well, you don't understand kind of what I've been through or whatever. And I think the soils actually do a really good job of pointing out how easily we're deceived and how dangerous the posture. So the soils represent the heart. And that's even what Jesus uses the prophecy from Isaiah. He's saying it's the heart. They represent your position and disposition of the heart. And we're told to guard our hearts with all diligence. Come to the Lord and say, search me and know me. Find anything impure in me. Like, search my heart. Like, there is no new heart without Jesus. There is no new heart. We're all stuck in that Ezekiel, that heart of flesh and that callous and or stone. And now we've been given a renewed heart of flesh, not flesh, and soft flesh is good. Of the flesh is calloused and hard. And so there's this renewal of heart that's being talked about. And each of these soils, I think, like reflects and exposes some of the pitfalls of where our heart can be. And I think as not a believer, but also as a believer, where you can start getting a harder heart as time goes on and the dangers of that. So, we can go through soil by soil.
Yeah.
So the first one is the hard soil, which is, the reason we did this whole section is because we have the sower, and then we have, in the first part, and then Jesus explains it. So it's worth like hearing his commentary on it. But the first one talks about the sower who went out to sow. Some fell along the path. The birds came, ate, and devoured it. The path is the well-trodden place, right? And
Yeah.
you run on trails.
Right.
What's the difference between like an actual trail versus 5 feet off?
Bushwhacking. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, the trail is worn in and it's pretty stiff, but if you start going off path, it's like feet sink into things. It gets, a lot more
It's softer ground.
rural. Yeah, it's exactly.
And things grow
Yes.
off the path. But on the path, generally, no one has to come out there with a weed eater
No.
or anything like that. One, people just keep walking over it. And two, the ground is so hard, nothing can really penetrate, right?
Right.
Because especially some trails, more or less, but like if it's like a Saturday morning hiking trail, that thing is cooked. It's not going to make any,
Yeah, you start to notice when you get into higher ground. I've been on trails where all of a sudden it starts getting overrun and you're like, oh, this doesn't get through traffic.
right. Yeah.
There's something about getting beaten down all the time that it gets hard and wider and wider. Now you got a fire road going.
Yeah. So seeing as the soil is different, like, I guess, iterations or illustrations or analogies of the heart. The first one is that calloused, hard heart that won't allow anything in. And you go, how does it get like that? How does a heart get like that? Well, I think one, sin, like just unchecked, undealt with sin. It is, we always underestimate the power of sin and what it will do in our life. Like how much it drains you and how much it affects you and how much it messes you up.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps messing you up, So I think that would be like kind of like the first thought of what makes your heart hard. You use the analogy of like the first time you lie, it like hurts, or maybe you like steal something like minimal, or you think it's minimal. And then you kind of like get over it. You learn how to get over it. And then you kind of keep going. It's the same thing as like drugs, right? It's like no one like shoots heroin the first time. Like, I'm going to try a drug.
Yeah.
Like, tie me off and like, let's,
Yeah.
It's like, that's not
Progressive over time.
Progressive over time. You get used to like one thing, after another. sin will continuously harden your heart, and it's not being receptive to it. So I think that's probably one of the most um, effective tools of the enemy to harden your heart. And then the seed is like this transformational seed that has no place to go because you're so walled off and calloused, or you can be. Which is, we also know the Holy Spirit is what breaks that down, convicts the world of sin, which is when that stuff starts getting broken up. Maybe, I don't know if you've ever seen really hard ground get broken up. It's a violent act, but like it starts chunking apart, and what was once unplantable soil can be changed. I think another thought towards like a hard soil is when people have been hurt. We kind of talked about like church hurt, or it just experiences. Bad things have happened to me so many times. I'm going to wall myself off from ever having to feel pain again or feel again. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. It's like there's an acclimation process.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you get acclimated, it keeps going further and further. And I think yeah, you made a good point. And I also saw the reel talking about the comparing the gym to church hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is funny. But also there's a truth there of like, I don't know, like a victim mentality is like, it's not a good thing to have. And I've battled with times in my life where I can get into that too. It's not about like calling anyone out, but there is a degree of like, if you view yourself as a victim, then like you're going to perceive everything from that standpoint.
Well, I guess you can also say like, what is that getting you?
Yeah.
Is it really helping? Like, if there is a seed that can change your life, that can bring real growth and real renewal and real fruit, that is satisfying both for you and for those around you, why would you not allow that to have a shot?
Yeah.
And if that's being brought to your attention, then you still have ears to hear to some extent.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's the good news, is that he's telling people this so that there's one, a recognition of it, but also like, if you can hear this, like, do something about it. Like, and the funny thing is, Jesus is the sower, but he's also the farmer. He's also the one who actually helps you weed out the garden. He's also pruning. He's also doing all those kind of things. So he's doing both, but there is a degree of where we're allowing it to go, oh no, that's just a path that'll never be changed. And it's like,
you're like closed off to it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a danger to that.
Yeah.
And it's easy to just think of like the unbeliever from that standpoint without realizing we can do that in areas. And you talked about that. It's like we do that in areas of our life. That's off limits.
Right.
That's not a good place to be, unfortunately.
Right.
It seems like you're protecting yourself, but like no fruit comes out of that. That's the whole point, is like, whether you like it or not, when you guard areas of your heart that God's trying to deal with because it gets hardened and calloused, it's still affecting you in one way or another. That's why God's trying to deal with it, to set you free of things. And if you hold those off because you're hardened to it, it's like you're only hurting yourself in the end, but it can be a painful process and it can be hard for people. And I think that's why God works with us, and we build that trust with God.
Mm-hmm.
You give him a little more, you give him a little more. It's really hard to give God all of you at once. You kind of like go through a process of like, I can trust you. I can trust you.
Yeah, even if you think you are, if you look back 10, 15, 20 years later, you'll go, that was not all of me. That was like a very small part. But it was an awareness of, I want to give all of me.
Yeah.
I think that's where it starts, is like, I want to give you full access, which is, it's king and kingdom. You're king. It's your kingdom I'm about now. That's just, because otherwise, if you're walling everything off yourself, you're a kingdom inside of a kingdom. And that's a dangerous place to be in a lot of ways, because it's really not, you're not part of a community. The people who like kind of wall off their whole life from everybody. And it's like, they silo out, and it's like, man, even if they say I'm part of the bigger body of believers, Christians,
Yeah.
it gets really weird really fast because it's under your control, under all of your guidelines. You're this, you're that. You have to be king. That's exhausting and it's dangerous and it's anyway. So
Yeah.
and we see the result is the seed that would transform and give you everything you really want and could renew the land and make it good again. All of that is gone. And like there is no ability for that to take root. And then the bird, which is like the enemy, Satan, is picking off the seed. See, it doesn't even work. See, it doesn't even work. See, it doesn't even matter. I don't even want to hear about these fairy tales and this and that. It's like, you can see how
Yeah.
dangerous that is.
Absolutely.
So that would be the first soil.
Mm-hmm.
The second soil is sown on like in rocky ground, which says it grows quickly, but doesn't really have good roots. So when the sun comes out, it bakes it and it ends up not
Yeah.
being able to stand and withstand. So
I actually, I had a season of my life I was there. The first time I believed that I got saved only lasted for maybe 6 months. And I wouldn't come back to the Lord for another 4 years. And it was that. I like emotionally like felt it and I was like into it, but I don't think I had like the full encounter with the Lord yet. So as soon as I acclimated back to the people I was around and they were like, "You don't believe that. That's stupid." Like, "Oh, I never thought you'd be one of those people." It immediately, the sun scorched it up where it's like my roots weren't deep. I had an emotional response and I'm like, "Oh, I think this is real." And then immediately people started like, throwing rocks at it. And then I was out for like another 4 years until I had a real encounter with God.
what do you think were the rocks for you?
I think for me, it was like almost like being young maybe played a role, but the embarrassment of like believing something and having people around me being like, it's laughable that you would believe that.
Okay.
Feeling outcasted, feeling like you don't belong, which you also kind of talked about in service is like, when you're young, you're not looking around like, oh, no one really has it figured out. We're all just projecting. When you're young, you're like, everyone has it figured out but me. So when my roommates and people, because I was like 18, 19, started, making it the butt of the joke, it was like, wait, do I believe this? And because I didn't have a foundation, because those roots weren't deep, it was like, well, maybe I don't believe it. And then pretty soon it's like, no, that was stupid. I don't know why I ever believed that.
I think this kind of soils is really evident in like the celebrity Christian or the, a
Yes.
celebrity gets saved and then they have this dramatic like growth, like it seems like, whoa, and everybody worships it and then
Platforms them.
and platforms them, which is the Bible's like, do not
Yeah.
promote a novice. Don't put a novice
Yeah.
in a position of leadership because of this very reason. And it's kind of like, if you love these people, you wouldn't do it to them. You wouldn't do this to them because we all know, man, the stuff I had to work out, I had no idea what was coming. I had no idea how many rocks were in my garden that were making it so where, because you kind of have this like utopian view of like Christianity and like what it means to walk with Jesus and follow him. And as time goes on, dude, a lot of gnarly stuff happens. Like, like you go through hardship and peril and distress, and which is all said is going to happen in the Bible. Like, that's the funny thing is like, we think it's like an anomaly when something like that happens. No, that is like known. But what you find is that Jesus is there in all of that and that the gospel works through all of that and that there's beauty in it to know, oh, you're with me. And, oh, this is not going to go to be wasted. It's all part of like that deep transformation. And if you find out you have rocks below your soil that's making your stuff not grow well, you're going to have to do the hard work of removing them. Like, not
Yeah.
personally, in a garden sense.
hmm
Thankfully, in when we're talking about like this context, it's God that's going to help us remove them.
Yeah.
He's going to point them out and he's going to help us remove them. But it will be traumatic and painful. And when it's all said and done, it might look a lot worse than when you started for a season. Like, you
Yeah.
might just go like, oh man, I thought following Jesus would be easy and fun, and all every day would be 100, and now all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I'm kind of like look worse than I did before. But what's going on in the meantime is you're losing the stuff that's going to thwart your further growth. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think the next soil like really builds on that.
Yeah.
But I can think of an instance, and this is more, I've heard you talk about this a lot, but God on my terms
hmm
can lead to this too.
yep,
I had a friend, in more recent years that I've known for a very long time, reach out to me from a desperate place. We started talking about God. He listened to Voyager a bit and was just like, dude, I get it. This is like changing my life right now. I can't believe this is real. And we're like talking and talking, and he's fired up. And within weeks, it was like, oh, I'm just focused on like love. Love is the answer, right? And it's like there's a shift now. There's a shift from I believe God is real and what does this mean to, you know what? I think it's really just about putting more love in the world and receiving love. And then all of a sudden old behaviors start to come in. And before long, it's like he's not talking about God at all. And now we're back to square one. And
Yep.
I think it is that. He received it with joy. He's fired up. And then it's like, you know what, there's some stuff there that I don't really like, so maybe like I'll just ignore that. And as soon as you take God off the throne of being God and now it's on my terms, you don't really get any effective change. And then when you realize nothing's really changed, then it's like, well, let me move it back. And before long, you're back at the start line because you're like, that was an interesting idea, but it wasn't for me.
yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you start putting it in, it's God on my own terms, then everything's on your own terms.
Yeah.
Even like love.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many
Who
things.
defines that?
Exactly. And it's like everyone's, idea of love is there's a lot of different iteration, like beliefs of what love looks like. And even that's defined in the Bible. I don't like the way it's defined. I don't care if you like the way it's defined.
Yeah.
It's the truth. And this is where you again, what is being addressed is who is king, and these rocks, the hard ground. So the hard ground, it's like you never even get in. It's blocked at the beginning. This one, the rocks are a little more covert. They're underneath. So there's like a little bit of growth. There's a little bit of room. You're kind of interested, but you still have your wall. This, I will not go beyond this point because I don't want to believe that I would have to live a way that I disagree with from my own personal perspective. Well, oh my gosh, get used to it. Like, there's going to be so many things that you don't want to be true that are true in the world. Like, and it's just part of life. But like, it's a little bit more deceptive because it's below that first layer. You go, oh, okay, wow. To me, I think this is really harmful to the kingdom. The first one is obviously too, because it's people just not receiving it at all. But this one it gives kind of like a bad name, as does the next one. I think the next one is actually probably, I mean, we struggle with all of them. The next one is like, I think especially dangerous in our day and age right now, which would be the thorns, the weeds. So we have this ground that's fertile, able to receive seed well and grow, but it also starts growing other things alongside of it that eventually choke out the good seed because of, like we said, resources, all kinds of different things. And I have a lot of applications I kind of took from that, but yeah, you mentioned this one. Yeah.
Do you feel like in some of Paul's final letters, when he's talking about people that were shipwrecked into the faith or like loved the world, so they've deserted him now to go chase things in the world, do you think this is kind of what he's talking about too?
Oh yeah, like their God is their belly, like all these people who've left the faith, and he's like weeping because of it,
I think a lot of us
100%.
who have felt like this too. I resonate with a lot of that stuff because if you have done not even just ministry but Christian life long enough, there are people that maybe started the journey or were influential in the journey. And it almost, I know it's not a betrayal, but there's times you almost feel betrayed when some of those people leave the faith and you're like, oh, I thought we were in it together and you're gone now. And,
Yeah. Yep.
um,
Well, what's funny is you're either fighting the good fight of faith or you're fighting against it. And I've noticed those
yeah,
people who left it, their whole identity is like trying to figure out how to not be in it anymore and how to justify why it was a good decision. And it's
yeah,
like, it never works. It just doesn't work because it's like they end up becoming worse and worse, and their arguments become less and less even meaningful or valid or anything. It's wild to
yeah,
see. I feel like I see that over and over again. Not to say that real hurtful things didn't happen to them or
yeah,
that there wasn't bad situations or this or that or whatever, but like that if you were to like do a study on those lives and what it looks like, it does not equate to more peace, love, joy, any of that stuff. It's more debauchery, self-inflicted wounds, guarding yourself against, and it's like you become so against and aggro. It's like, what is your problem? Like, if it's not a real thing, then why do you even care?
yeah,
Why does it even matter so much? Just let it go. Like, it's like, I don't believe
yeah.
in sin anymore. So now I'm going to be anti, because I felt like it's like, no, just shut up. Like, be quiet about that, like, or it's like, who cares? Like, just move on. But like, why is it? It's almost like that ex-girlfriend or something you can't stop talking about. It's like, just go, get back together with her or like
Yeah,
stop, like, but they can't because there is something there that they've probably experienced some sort of growth and seed and community. And even if it was in a kind of a negative context, they kind of can't get rid of what that was. And they spend their whole life trying to like numb out or explain away or whatever. I
yeah,
know so many people in that boat. And I don't say it's like flippantly or like to just be like, put a caricature of them all, but it is every time it ends up like this. And
yeah.
I don't see it end well.
I also like where my head goes a little bit too is people that have been shipwrecked in the faith because something horrible did happen to them
Mm-hmm.
and they were unable to reconcile um how God interacts with this horrible thing that happened to them. And that could be a number of things, loss of a child. It could
Yeah.
be your life crumbled around you, right? And it is important as, we would have talked about in service a number of weeks ago, like, are you built on the rock or are you built on the sand? Because the storms will come.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about in Sunday service how, this isn't prosperity gospel because that's actually harmful to people.
Mm-hmm.
If you think God wants your best life now, then when things disrupt that, you're going to think, well, then something's off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either God's not who he said he is or he's not real. And it's like, well, you got to get into this book so you can
Mm-hmm.
understand who God is, not who you want him to be,
Yeah.
Because he is who he is, and he is good and merciful and all these things. But there's a depth. The abundant life means we're going to experience an array of things, right?
Yeah. In this world, you will have trouble, but he's
Right.
overcome the world. Yeah.
And I think when people go through really hard things and the weeds do try and choke it out, but their faith endures, I think that faith, the roots go even deeper. There's
Mm-hmm.
an even greater depth than before when those weeds get ripped up.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think I've probably had seasons, a lot of us have, where you let some weeds kind of sprout up. And the cares of the world did start to kind of, maybe you didn't leave the faith, but some things started to get choked out. Like I even recently I had a season where I feel like I got a little jaded,
Mm-hmm.
and pessimistic, and you start to look at everything through the lens of like they're not being honest with me, or that's not the real story there, or I used to believe that God can do miraculous things when he asks you to do things, but I feel like actually it's just a hard beaten road and you start to lose the plot. I've heard you
Mm-hmm.
say that before too. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like you've lost the plot. And I think we're all susceptible to losing the plot from time to time, but the thing is like that's why this is so relevant to me and I hope a lot of people is like every week when we take communion, we have that opportunity to evaluate, like, is my heart still soil that like will let that seed sprout and let those roots go deep, or are there weeds in there? Are there things in there that are taking resources and
Mhm.
choking things out? Because if I don't deal with it, I'm at risk that eventually it'll choke out all of the good plant and the good root, and then there won't be fruit in my life.
And that's why we do communion every week, is
Yeah.
like an assessment of how I bring all of my stuff to the cross. I don't understand what you're doing right now, Lord. I don't get it. Oh, there's so much language for that
Mm.
all over the Psalms, in the epistles, like, but there's like a overarching faith that no, but you're God and you're with me, and you're still doing what you want to do, and you're still active in my life. But I don't get it right now. Or here's where I know I'm starting to go aside. I think one of the major dangers of growing up, this whole weed thing, is it grows alongside faith. One, faith is, it grows slow, or like a good tree, it grows slow. Like, but weeds grow really fast. And it has the illusion of being healthy. It has the illusion
Mm.
of being prosperous, and sometimes you can think
Yeah.
a weed is a good thing. We're going to get into that this next week on the wheat and the tares. You kind of can't tell what's what at some degree. Like, you can't tell if it's good or bad, and it's like you kind of got to let it see what it's going to do and then deal with it. But I think identity is wrapped up in this, especially because we're so enamored with our identity being in things outside of Christ as a whole.
Yeah, that's true.
Even in the church, like, you want it to be, I have my identity is somewhere else other than Christ. Um, and I've dealt with that, I think, and God dealt with me well on it. I remember early on, I was like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I'm a hardcore kid too.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, when push came to shove, it's like you might act like more like a hardcore kid than you do like a Christian.
Yeah.
And eventually God took that away from me, even about allowing me to like pay some pretty big prices, so that eventually I could come back with like yeah, like I'm into the music. I love the scene. It means a lot to me, but that is not even close to like my identity is in Christ.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was a drummer, amazing drummer, super good drummer, and was playing worship and all this and that. And he realized, though, his identity was in being a drummer. His worth was in it. It was what he thought about. It was what he practiced only. It was like his thing, you know. And God told him, took it away for a season. He ended up picking up the acoustic guitar, became a worship leader. Years later, he's allowed to play drums again, but it's now in proper perspective.
Yeah.
Like, my identity can't be here, so I have to like be aware of the things that might make me feel like I'm more alive than I should, or and see them as traps. Slow growth is the only kind of growth I think you see in the Bible. It's this long play of like, daily working out your salvation, daily like seeing God move. And it's a slow growth, which even in the church I
Yeah.
seeing slow growth, I think is healthy. You see 100 people come in, you watch them 100 people go out. Like, it's like that's too like all over the
Yeah.
place. Not to say God can't use that, but there's something about like just slowly growing. Then, it's like now you can be integrated into the culture. You can be integrated, as opposed to this outside thing comes in and takes over the culture and takes over what it is.
Yeah.
It's easy for that to happen. And especially if you find something you like, see it in music, see it in, I'm sure for you, it's
Yeah.
probably been, there's some degree of like being a filmmaker and being creative and going,
Yeah.
I'm using this for God's glory. But at what point is it actually starting to compete with God himself? You got to be careful.
You can almost chop up all those things to like calling
Mm-hmm.
is and we're all susceptible, but you do see a big push with social media and everything where people find their calling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it starts from a good place. I want to serve God, I want to reach people, and then the calling becomes the most important thing, and then the calling will come with complications.
Mm-hmm.
There will be setbacks, there will be victories, and then before long that calling can take God's seat.
Mm-hmm.
where it's like I'm doing this for God, but now I'm just doing this is all I actually care about. And it's almost like worshiping the creation more than the creator.
Yeah.
As you've said, our hearts are idol making machines.
Well, I got it. Idol making factories. I think it's a John Calvin quote, which,
Yeah, which
yeah.
it's relevant though.
Yeah.
It's like,
100%. Yeah.
we get so focused on the thing that we miss that it's like, well, God brings the fruit. We're meant to be the soil that's workable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. He's the sower, he's the tender, and he's the one that is the source that brings fruit. He's the vine, we're the branches. It's like he's all of it. We just have to keep our hands off to some degree, I think. And the other thing it says too is the weeds are the worries of this age, the deceitfulness of wealth. That's
Wealth, success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the so it's
influence.
worries will choke out what God is doing in your life. Fear is a huge deal. Like I think fear is one of the most it's like not talked about enough, maybe, about how much we deal and allow fear in our lives.
Yeah.
Me included. Like where you realize like, oh, that decision is completely driven by fear, but perfect love casts out fear, and choosing faith to trust God trumps fear.
Yeah.
Like to go like, you know what? I can still be like physically aware of the, whatever could happen, but I can't live in fear, or else I'm now in bondage and slavery to that fear. Same thing with money. You can't serve God and mammon.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're, and this is kind of sometimes where that success comes in. Oh, I figured out a little, vein where I can make a bunch of money. I found like that little spot where, or have any sort of success. Cause a lot of it's not just wealth, can be all kinds of different things, really. I mean, it's like, people, to be looked at highly, to be sought after, to be any of these kind of things.
Which is kind of where the Pharisees were at too.
And he's kind of talking to them.
Yeah.
Like remember, we're fresh off of that. Him like dealing with them directly and saying, the sign of the age is going to be Jonah, and the Ninevites are going to judge you. And so is the Queen of Sheba is going to judge you, because they had less information. They had less witness, and they responded, and you didn't.
Yeah.
So he's like, here's your hard hearts. Here's all these different things. And so, and it's like, it applies to all of them, and it applies to all of us. But lastly, there's the good ground. And it's, this is the one who hears, understands the word, who produce fruit and yields, some 100, some 60, some 30 times what was sown. I love that there's a multiplication no matter what, but the numbers don't matter.
Which is very counterculture to what we live in, where it's like, if you trust God enough, if you pray enough, we should all have a mega church if we're a pastor.
That's
and no one
success.
outwardly says that, but
That's
it's
success.
Like we're all chasing success by numbers. How many baptisms happened, this year? How many people responded to an altar call at Easter? We measure things in like value, and it appears that God is not looking at things in those terms.
Well, no. And I mean, you think about, if you go back to the body, it's like, don't desire to be a part of the body you're not.
Yeah.
Just be what you are. Like, it's like, if you have like a part of the body go rogue, and it's like, I'm not getting enough attention, I need to become the main character in this story. It's like, that's going to be not good. Like, it's like, I just need you to do your part. And then everybody's happy. Everyone works together. We stop ourselves from getting injured, like, it's like, it all works great.
Yeah.
But
no,
if you
I
go
like
rogue,
that. Yeah, it's like a foot being like, I don't know, I've got a shoe on me half the time and people can't see me. I'm going to be a hand now. And it's like, but you don't know how to hold a fork, dude.
Yeah.
You're a foot.
Yeah. And the whole
and we need a foot.
The mega church, like, it seems so normal now, like the model.
Mm-hmm.
Where did this come from?
I don't know. It's kind of going away too.
It is kind of, people are kind of over it, which is terrifying. So now what you're going to see is the
Yeah.
people who follow the formulas are going to like be like, how do we be like gritty, like one of those? It's
But it's
hilarious.
like, you know
Yeah.
what?
Who cares? Whatever.
Some people resonate with the
Yeah.
bigger environment and they're like, life's complicated and having 3 service times helps me, or
Yeah.
having resources. And a lot of people coming to this church, it's like, I crave a small environment and
Yeah.
I want to know the people I go to church with on a deeper level. And I think God uses it all.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
like,
For sure.
and different denominations at times too. It's like within reason, right? I'll say that.
Biblical under, they believe the right things and
Yeah. The most dangerous place is when you're like outside of all of it and you're like, the ocean is my church.
Right.
And I'm in the greater body. And it's like, I think you're running. But anyway.
Well, I mean, the fruit it comes out.
But
one
I
way or the
do
other.
love that it's like the same as the parable of the talents. And it's like, or talents.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you're responsible for what's been entrusted to you, and God will bring the increase that's meant for you. So like, not everyone is that going to look the same, but everyone has a purpose and a call within the kingdom, right?
And it's all to be fruitful.
Yeah.
So like the talents, I literally just was going over this in our daily reading through our year plan. And even if it's one gets one back or two back in return, God's not looking at him going like, you're a terrible servant, you should have done better. The only one he judges is the person that buries it in fear and never uses it at all. And here we have some the good gurus, those who hears, understands the word, who produce fruit and yields, some 100, some 60, some 30 times what was sown. It doesn't say the best, the medium, the worst. It's just showing it all be used and useful. But you are called to produce something. We know that because we're supposed to have fruit in our life. And a tree that doesn't produce any fruit is cut down as firewood, because it's a waste of resources. It's just going to be cut down. It's not worth anything. So there is some degree of fruitfulness that we need to be fruitful. And that's the kind of I guess the way we're looking at the thorns or the weeds is we're looking to be, I want to be something. Well, Jesus is like, well, I made you to be something. Like I actually I know exactly who you are, and I have works for you to do, and I have things for you to do. Just trust me and don't try and make rogue works come out. That's like not going to work. Just do the real thing. It might be messy. It might be weird. I used the example on Sunday about like the supermarket fruit versus like the grandma's tree fruit.
Yeah.
And now if you were to look at the two, the supermarket, like apricots. Okay. My grandma's apricots next to her house. If you were to look at apricots in the supermarket, they're probably like this big and they look really good. And they're like, all of them look kind of perfect, but you eat them and you're like, it's not that good. And people might be even not think they like apricots. You go to my grandma's, they're way smaller. They might have marks on them and whatever. They're way more orange, but as soon as you bite one, you just go, oh my goodness. Like that other one's not even an apricot.
Yeah. Your dad brought those oranges.
Those are Redlands
weeks
oranges.
ago, and
You're like, have I ever had an orange before?
Yeah. We're all like peeling them and there's like spray coming out and you're just like, wow, this is an experience, you know?
Yep. The real thing.
Yeah.
So God wants to do that in us, and he does want to produce fruit. So the desire in you to be fruitful is of him, but he's the one that brings the increase, and it's only got to be through his way. Otherwise, we're going to be king. We're going to be God. And then we're going to have to kind of make it look like it works. And it,
Yeah.
it's kind of like those ads, where they show like the Big Mac or something. They're painted and lacquered, and I mean, you can't eat that food.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that from.
Yeah, you're from that world.
I worked at Carl's Jr. commercial, and they brought in chefs, and they're cooking out back, making different burgers, but we're filming in an actual location, so they're bringing them in. It's like, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You would think you would just cook the burgers you have here on,
Yeah.
the cookware you have here, but that's not what you're doing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. You just outed
And then they
Carl's
bring
Jr.
in models and, have them all spitting in a bucket after every
Oh,
take.
oh
They're not
gosh.
even eating the food, Yeah. Maybe
Well,
we'll
I
cut
know
this out.
some of them, they like put lacquer on the bun and stuff to make it like really shiny and stuff.
Super glue, they'll super glue things together, all
If
sorts
no
of
one's
stuff.
eating it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the close-up shots.
But if you were to like look at the ad versus what you actually get,
Yeah, sorry to burst everyone's bubble. No judgment if you go to these places.
just go to
but,
In-N-Out. Just go to In-N-Out.
Not to step backward, but what are your thoughts on Jesus basically saying that he's speaking in parables, almost like drawing people to put in some degree of effort to understand what he's saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he says, they have ears, but they don't listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have eyes they don't see. There's the kind of like the Pharisees where Jesus is doing all this stuff, and then we've mentioned this multiple weeks, but where the crowd's going, could this be the son of David? Could this be him? When the Pharisees are like, we've got to figure out a way for it not to be him. That is that same heart and mind. And this is the most dangerous place you can be. This is the hard ground where you can look at it and go, I don't want that to be true. I've got to figure out a way that can't penetrate my heart, can't penetrate my life. It can't. Because the Spirit is drawing men to him. It's working on our hearts. And that's the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, which is saying, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be drawn. Leave me alone. Go away. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And that's the danger, was these parables are meant to spark stuff in us to go like, oh man. I mean, even reading through that, you go,
Yeah.
Where's my soil? Because I know it's not all good. Like, I know that's where I want to be, but I also know there's some certain points where those roots hit a rock and I'm like, I don't want to move that rock. That rock's been there my whole life. I like it. It's like comfortable.
Yeah.
And to remove it would be a lot of work, and I might get scuffed up and scraped up, and it might make everything messier for a season. Or I like those weeds. At least something's growing. At least I see some sort of success in my life. Like I feel like I'm actually doing something. Well, but it's like, but do you know at what cost? And you know that it's actually not going to get you what you want. I remember when I was a kid thinking, why don't we just grow weeds? They grow easy. Why do we care about grass? Like, just like let it be weeds.
Yeah.
Well, there's reasons for that, like they're not good. They're sticky and pokey and they sting you, and they're like there's all kinds of weird stuff in the weed world. Whereas like if it's grass, it takes cultivation, it takes awareness, but like the end result is, dude, your family can play on it. They can lay on it. Like you can enjoy us, looking up in the stars or, sunbathing or whatever. It's like, there's joy from that. It's a lot more work, but it's cultivating the land. It's what it's supposed to be. What's what God always intended. And I love that Jesus uses in his first parable, garden imagery, because that is what we start with, is the garden. And so he's like saying like, here's what my kingdom is about. We're going back to the garden, guys. And I still want to see you be a part of seeing cultivation and growth in your own life and what that would look like for the world around you.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
It is.
I think it draws a purity of heart out too. Because
Yeah.
if you're half listening and you're just looking for like, give me my 12 steps to success, and you're not paying attention to what he's saying, then you can miss the whole point.
Right.
I think there is a degree of like, those who seek will find,
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like it's almost the same as like casting pearls before swine. There's a degree of like, you got to put in a little bit of effort to pay attention here.
Mm-hmm.
You got to press in a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're going to find the keys to life. But if you're just looking for what you can get out of it, you're going to miss it.
Well, it's and realize that God is always doing that work. We said the Holy Spirit, he's always doing that work in our hearts. No man is without excuse. Like there is an internal drawing towards these things. You have to literally want to shut it off for it not to work. And so you have eyes you can't see, you have ears you can't hear. Like you hear and hear, and you see and see, but you don't see. Like you don't see it. Like you can. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it. It's It's a lot of scripture for like a week, but it makes sense that you tackled it together. And I think there's so much application to it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. You have any other thoughts?
No, I think just application would be take it home and like go before the Lord to, say, where am I at? Where's the because we're really good at convincing ourselves that we're the good thing every time. Like I read the story and go, oh, I know the bad guys in this story. I know those people.
Yeah.
But to realize where I've been hard-hearted and realize where I have rocks or where there's weeds growing up, and to say, Lord, you revealed it to me. I have eyes to see it. I have ears, I've heard it. Now I want to respond.
Mm,
And, he who has ears to hear, let him hear,
yeah.
and you'll be blessed. Or you keep on banging your head against the wall, but it's kind of like sucks to do that. Kind of got to be smarter than that.
Yeah.
Eventually you get sick of it and, um, letting your guard down and saying, all right, you're king. I want to be part of your kingdom. It's the only way to really be fruitful. And it's the only way to really have that kind of peace. Even if bad things come, you're going to show you're with me in that too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for helping us this week, Brad. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Feels like Voyager again
I
almost.
know,
I mean,
a
it's
little
different
bit.
context, but it was kind of fun to chat it up.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.